progress. So welcome to our first masterclass series. Again, this masterclass is more or less, there'll be 3 masterclasses in the next week or so. There's the first of the series. It's a specialist workshop focused on a specific topic. Today is AI data governance, and we'll follow that up by AI writer on Friday, and the next week, Wednesday, we will have AI graphics and design. These are masterclass series, which are slightly more dense compared to our traditional workshops. And this will be followed up by detailed one-day workshops, boot camps, and related information. We just want to share the basics, and we go from there. So everybody who joined in, welcome. So, and people who are listening to the recording, which will be 80% of you, also welcome. So as I mentioned, today is World International Yoga Day, so PLD. And the summer solstice, anybody who are believing in that as well. So enjoy that as well. So let's have a look. What do we have? If you are attending for the first time, the best point to start is going to be our YouTube channel, Baachu Scribble. There are a lot of videos that we have posted there. So anybody who, if you haven't subscribed to it, please to subscribe. There is a lot of content that goes in there. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for your kind word. It's nice to see you, Emma. Welcome all. So we have done nearly 35 hours of learning content on this already. If you include the boot camp and if you include our proposal mastery and the certain series, it's crossed nearly 60 hours. So these are some of the free resources that are available. So you can go with the very first webinar that we do on March 2nd, all the way to April, May, June, March, what we call AI tools webinar, where we gradually give you an update on what's latest that's relevant to you and what are some of the tools that we are using that you might be beneficial of that. And over these 4 months, we have been collecting a lot of questions, which we addressed that part of the AMA session. Some gets addressed part of the boot camp, but there was lots of data privacy questions that came up with, and today we'll address that part of that. That's the whole point of it. So prompt is there, advanced is there, part of the Scribble learning portal. So that's the YouTube channel is the first point. Scribble LinkedIn is another place that you could find us. It's a very common place. We are very active on that. Baachu Connect is a friendly community, so we do share that some elements in there. But as Hazel knows, who's here, I've been logging in as admin rather than my own account. So there were lots of messages that people posted to me, which I didn't even pick up because I was logging in as an admin. So apologies if I'm not there. The another place that we also exist is Baachu Connect, which is a friendly place. That's where people share their stories and other information. So then AI Scoop, which is a newsletter which we publish every week. We bring it, or if you miss any of the webinars, if you miss any of the posts, that's what we bring it up there. So there are lots of information, which meant we hardly repeat what we shared in the past. So that's it. So if you have missed, this is the information. So next AMA is on the 13th. Join in, it's another free session. So we'll update what's there. What else? In March, this is what we covered. We introduced why you need to embrace AI, and we talked about a few elements, and we also introduced optimization process. Then gradually we intensified in April. The reason for that is you will start to understand why this masterclass happens, right? So people then start to get panicked. Obviously, we were early adopters of this, and we already, by this time when we did this webinar, we already done 5 proposals totally AI optimized by this time. And now we do 12 a month, so 3 a week. So it's primarily, yes, AI is going to take over jobs, but is it AI going to take over job, or is it somebody who knows how to use AI to take on a job? That's the tweak. That's there. That's what we covered. And then we went on and we introduced the AI news, the updates, scoops, and bits and pieces. And then we started to look at regulations, what's happening. People are now starting to talk about regulations. That's the seeding for this workshop. And then, this is where we flows. If you're a long-term, Baachu-friendly family member, then we don't talk about AI versus human. We talk about AI plus human for a very long time, right? And that's it. So we kind of put that to death there, then and there, and then we just moved on. So primarily, that's where we are. In May, we started to go, okay, people starting to use into that. So, how can we focus on some privacy features of AI? Because obviously they also started to adopt. We are tool agnostics. The reason it's open AI, we kind of talk more about that. It's because our theme is democratizing bidding knowledge, which means we are not big fans of some sponsored specialist LLM tools. The only reason they exist is because they scare the market. And then they say, oh, don't go there. You just come to us, pay 10 times more at the same time for security features. The world is evolving, and it's important for us to evolve with it. First you, as we say, first you learn, then you make up your own use cases of how you could use it. Then you create a process, and finally you go for the tool. It's a journey. And some quickly well goes to the tool, and then they burn themselves out knowing it's not what they want. But here, the whole part of this is for you to learn and build some specific use cases that works for you. It could be personal, it could be professional, something. So that's why we talked about here. And we gave also further regulation. This is where EU came out with a very fast regulation. The worldwide AI regulation came up around May. And then we looked into kind of building confidence with people. Here we go. We are now moving more and more. Rather than we did 12 bids in 10 weeks. Now we do 12 bids in 4 weeks. So, it's okay. You can do it without adding confidential information. That's what we did. And then we moved on. In June, we slightly triggered because that's where Bard came up with, because the new Bard that came up around May time, we tested it in May, and then we said, hey, if you do have a workplace, Google Workplace account, how you can play with it. Again, how you could connect to docs, how you could connect to emails, and how you could Google from Bard, and how you could actually create 3 responses at the same time, and how you could regenerate all 3 so that you could imagine you're writing a proposal draft, you're writing a marketing article, copywriting article, etc. You have 3 drafts in one place, and then you could decide, I want that. Now regenerate using one draft. So Google Bard does it. We looked into that, and then how we introduce that Bing, the search or the internet or Wi-Fi, whatever you want to call it, is now not Wi-Fi. In the internet or the web access will now be given to ChatGPT. Now Bing will be default search engine, how the world is moving there. We also looked at Forefront. Forefront is a great tool. If you haven't used it, please do use it. It's a nice ChatGPT alternative, but it's much more fun to use it, because you could create your own customer avatar, and you could start to interact. And then you could, in ChatGPT, you can't share your details. It's just it's just you. Whereas in Forefront, it's still GPT-4, which is much more advanced. I'll touch it. And you could have 3 or 4 colleagues who can all join Forefront, and you could share the information in Forefront, which is nice, cool thing. And we do have that then. And ChatGPT Enterprise version, which is coming up, will have the same features as well. Then we looked at some of the tools, and then we introduced the training programs. So this is why today we are looking at AI data governance and risks, and then 23rd and 28th. If you haven't registered for the other one, please do, because I know this is a dense topic. So most probably you are going to find a lot more people on that compared to this. So welcome. So you are part of, I know some of you are already certified with us. The good news is now we can have a formal digital badge, which you could showcase in LinkedIn as well. So we have gone with, again, OpenAI has a tool called Open Badge, which meant you can be accredited part of Baachu as an AI-powered bidder. So it's 23 people. You will receive the badges within the next 1 or 2 weeks. So that's it. So gradually we're building the community, and you are now part of the community. So people are now talking about safety a lot more than what they used to solve, because now, yes, the tool is here, the world has changed, but what we can do. Mira Murati, I think if you're not following her, please do follow her on Twitter. She's the CTO of OpenAI. Obviously, it's been tasked to do how you could align machines with human. That's where she is focused on. And the second person is OpenAI public. Obviously, you can imagine, the recent travels of Sam Altman into different places, different countries, meeting different regulators, telling them about what is it you need. We know we have created this. How can we work with you on this? So actually, it's happening. Public policy, public regulations are all happening as we speak. But within our control, what can we do? Right. What I thought is, I just want to get to know you a little bit better, and we will be rolling out the industry's largest survey in the next week or so. Depending on, we are looking at 900 users to do that, but this is a sum. So I just want you to take this poll so that I could get a feel for what's in your mind at the moment. These are 5 questions. It won't take more than a minute or 2. Just go for this. This is totally anonymous. just to understand, how do you primarily use GPT-4, whether it's personal or professional? How do you use it? Then you just go back and talk about, what does your organization has a stance already? I know, like, do they encourage it? There are some restrictions. They're completely banned it, and so. So yeah, just go for it, just so that we could get a feel for it. Because I just want to know how how where people are, in their journey. Is it all right? No, we can't use it. What ChatGPT, or it's just coming up, and then what's your main concern as well? Just go for that as well, because it helps me to structure the talk. Please do. Give another 30 seconds. Wow, this is interesting, isn't it? I mean, like, when it comes to policy, yes, it's now established. How often do you have a policy? I'm really impressed. Over 1/3 have said we do have a policy, and then 1/3 have said not sure, and 1/3 has said no, which is what I'm expecting. And this is early stages. And in the workshop, that's what we will be working through. It's just like, how can we create a blueprint of a policy that you can use it and you can just share it within your team. So this is interesting, isn't it? I will share you. This shocker came up early this week, where companies quietly are monitoring usage, the IT teams. So it's worth checking. It's worth checking. I mean, like, and some of the employee contracts have been changed to amend AI usage. It's all weird. I mean, like, you speak to your employees, get their understanding. Why are they using it? Because they are using it just to do more, to be more productive, to do well. All right ban, so all out ban is some people. Some companies do it, without even knowing why they are doing it. It's just a drop down from the top. Haven't done any prep work. It just happens. Whereas on the other side, there are some people who haven't done anything, but these are, they are just doing this. I will also touch some of the tools that you're using, etc. But thank you for the poll, and I'm ending the poll, and you can share. I'm going to share the results. So most of you are using for drafting and editing, and also generate proposal content, which is good. Interestingly, you don't use it for email and meeting notes. My God, I use it left, right, center. It's really, really useful. Please do use it. And then, some of you don't use at all. Oof. Okay, that's interesting. Encouraging stance, some restrictions in place, or nobody has banned so far, which is good. But in the previous webinar, we had nearly 11% who companies have banned it. Next one is, what's the main concern? Of course, data privacy comes up, compliance with regulations comes up. How can we train others to do it? And quality of output, that also of the concern. Because if you're not trained how to use it, then you simply learn and use it yourself. Then you might think that you have a content, but that content is going to be generic content. It's so important. Oh, nice to see people have no concerns, which is a positive sign. So let me share the results so that you could have a feel for the details. And let me continue. So we had a breakdown early this week, because so many people, because we are informally in touch with a lot of people, and primarily there's a lot of stress that's going around, not just within our industry, but across everybody. We had the pandemic, we came out of pandemic. Then after pandemic, we had what we call the Great Resignation. And then we started to have, everybody with experience, without experience, we're desperate for resources because of 2 years of sluggish growth, accelerated growth. And now what we are facing, what we call a great realization. So we always tell you, Q3, Q4 of this year will be a course correction across the world. And this nicely tells you what's happening. Great realization is how you are looking into embracing AI, how companies are looking to embrace AI, and how collectively the world is going to embrace AI. So, then you reevaluate, and then we are going to look at great realization. So from there, it's going to be great LLMization. There's no large language models is what we call about. So the whole journey from March 2nd for us, we know it's not going to be a drastic, okay, 1,000 people are going to come to us for training and stuff. We know it's going to be in a week, in a month. But at some point, it's going to be like, I've lost it. I want to get in. So, it's coming up. So primarily, this is the phase that we will be going through, whether we like it or not. And this is what I mean. The pandemic is a seismic shift within our journey. The whole year is never going to come back. But the part of it is we are now living in a world where there are rules, or there might be rules, or there are no actual rules, as you found in the poll, right? So this stress of uncertainty and unfamiliarity will have a negative healthcare, because within Baachu family, we focus only on two things. One is AI, because everything else you can find, you can learn yourself. It's the AI is your swipe file. So we stopped doing test webinars, but now we are coming back on this. But if you need it, there are already 300 plus hours of learning content within Baachu, which we are now adding it into YouTube. Most of it is available for $25, nearly 400 hours. It's there for you, right? But what I'm more focused on is your mental stamina. So, because this is becoming a challenge. So before I even get into data, I thought I'll drop by, because I used the webinar also to give immediate feedback on some of the questions that you receive. Since AMA is just only July the 11th, I thought I'll add it. So it is acknowledging, yes, you need to improve your mental stamina. It is unfamiliar, it is uncertain, right? Point number one. Point number two, it's going to be a struggle, right? Point number three, you need to find a way to hustle your mental stamina. It's easy to say, but you need to find a way, because it's the AI dominant future is going to come it's accelerating. Like people who have attended the webinar Monday might know what I've told Monday to Wednesday is different, and what I'll tell you on Friday will be totally different, right? So it's moving very fast. So it's important for you to invest time in understanding AI tools if you're not familiar with that, because it's hard. And I just want you to be part of people who share this, because it's important for you to change your narrative from effort, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, into something called performance. Because many of these things, the first thing we do when you do an AI power bidder is we give you what we call a mental map. We just give you an activity inventory for you to map it. Don't worry about this. I'll share the slides to you, but just imagine, because we are in the language of what we communicate with people is changing, and that's called the prompts, right? So the way you deal with your own workload is now changing. You're asking questions, you're iterating or optimizing, you're evaluating. Then, if the response, especially graphics and stuff, if you're using AI for graphics, which you'll touch next week, if it's biased, then you need to feed in to remove that bias. Then you go back and then find more. But what's happening now is, if you're not even familiar with 3.5 or now 4, which I'll touch next, the world is now moving into what we call AGM, which is much, much, much stronger, which means it is starting to create its own intelligence, right? So we will go to that, it's called the average general intelligence. So what that meant is the AI is now gradually starting to understand, oh, is this what you want? So maybe I will do it even before you ask, so it's moving that way. So we can be scared on that, but this has already happened. 3.5 that went live in October to 4 that went live mid-March. We can see what's happened, right? Some of you might think, if you look just for ChatGPT and stuff, you might be thinking, oh, this is it. But there are tools. There are a few more tools, like what we talked about is there and stuff, right? So now just look into that, what's happening. The improvement is happening. So people are trying to pause, but growth is going to be growth, So it's how we are going to do that. So point is, the world is moving into AGI. So GPT-5, as they call it, and that's what it comes to. So in the past, it's only text. We are getting used to text now. Now we are getting used to one tool that analyzes photos, videos, text, and everything. And also, There are tools that automatically cite sources now. ChatGPT today doesn't do it, but when Bing comes in, it's going to do it very quickly. Bard already cites sources. It's there for you. So this is it. So when you talk about this is it. In the next 1 or 2 minutes, what I'll do that is, if you're not using ChatGPT, experiment it. You're not going to just understand what it knows already, and just see. You can fine tune this, which is you can disable it. You go into ChatGPT, log in, and you could toggle your so that it's called data control, and you could say, hey, disable it so that my conversation will not be used for training and doing anything, which is fine. And then it's just there. But the data still gets for 30 days because they are testing who is using it to abuse and misuse it. Because if you can imagine the number of data points that comes in there, because that's what they are just cutting down. They're cutting it down on that. But on a greater scheme of things, disable it and start to use it. Still, if there is any personal information or any confidential information, etc., it's there. You don't need to share it. But it's important for you to get to the world. This is the very, very basic thing. Disable it before you do, so that you have it. I haven't disabled anything because then it's just there. But if you want to disable it, you can disable it. That's step 1. And step 2 is you need to, when you're talking about data governance and other things, this page, you just need to keep a note of it, which is AI data policy page in OpenAI. So there are 2 things that's happening. One is the data usage, and you can clearly see this page is important for 2 reasons. Number 1 is when the business subscription, as you know, Microsoft is already connected to OpenAI, right? So Microsoft suite of products. So if you can get a feel for how it's going to happen, right? Number 1 is, yes, by default, OpenAI will not use any of the data that's going to be put to it for its own use. Data submitted like what we did. However, 30 days is used for abuse and monitoring purposes. What? You could still log in and you could delete it on request. So you just said, okay, I still don't want it to on 30 days. You can still log in and delete it. So same policy will be rolling over for business subscriptions in the next few months. So if you're already using ChatGPT and stuff, this is there. Next one. The other one is Forefront. Forefront, as you can see here, it's very friendly. So you can choose whether you want 3.5 or you can use 4. And then these are its own specialist LLMs, which are secure LLMs. And then you could decide, hey, do you want to apply a default model or do you want to apply a persona? You can create your own persona and then you can just work aroundly. Access internet, do you want to enable or disabled? And then do you want to save chat or do you want to remove chat? If you are like, hey, I'm still nervous about ChatGPT, but I really want to see what it's all about, go to Forefront, just see what you can do. But free, it's still free. It's GPT-4 in ChatGPT, it's $20, whereas in Forefront, it's free. Obviously, when they say free, there is always a limit in what you can do with it, but it's worth testing it. So if you are into AI privacy, etc., you either disable it, but say 30 days it's there. But if you really don't want them to do it, you can still go and ask them to delete whatever you posted in the past, right? That's it. So this is where the density kicks in. So please bear with me. So what happens here is this, we will have a look at it in detail in workshop. What is AI risk management framework is. So if you are a company or if anybody within the company have a role called risk managers or risk directors or what we call CIO or CTO or any compliance, privacy person, anybody, you just need to let them know about this very first things. The US National Institute of Standards and Technology, this is going to be the industry standard for AI governance. So it's called AI Risk Management Framework, right? Go find it in the NIST website and download it. It might be dense for you, but again, if you are a hardcore believer of AI and say, world has changed, and I am honest and I am going to do only for good things and I'm using it to do more. So, but there are some people who are concerned. So let me go and help them. by telling them what this is about. It's like I'm telling 20 people and you're going to tell another one or two colleagues in your thing, and that's how it rolls, right? So the era is here. And if they ask your data governance is ready, just to show them, hey, this is the AI risk management framework. And I know within our company there are risk frameworks. Can we see how we can utilize this for this? All right. So this is going to be the very first thing. If you are not familiar with this, just familiar with this, because Microsoft and OpenAI are already starting to use this, because they are going to publish their status of how they are attesting, how they are implementing this framework. And then they are also going to share their experience and journey within their communal members, right? So that's what they're going to do. And more or less, Google and others will follow suit. So that's one. And this one is like any company, especially these guys have, the reason we say Microsoft is because most of you have using Microsoft suite of products, Word, Excel, Outlook, etc., SharePoint. So it's important for them. And this is what they are doing. So they have created what they call AI assurance program. And then they're also starting to say, share their learnings to the market, to just say, hey, this is what we are doing. This is how we are going to protect your data. So if your proposal automation tools are saying that, hey, we already plugged into OpenAI, your alarm bells should start to ring, because how protected are they? So for example, this is like the third-party plugin. So they have used third-party plugin, like the OpenAI API, to just use some of their data, which meant how robust is this? How can they affirm that while their platform might be secure, now they are connected to this one. So what guarantee are they going to give you in saying, hey, your data, hey, your content library here, your whatever you have, part of the proposal tool is not being used behind the scene by the LLMs, right? So Microsoft wants to assure its customer that we are already connected to OpenAI, part of Copilot, but this is what they are doing. They are going to do that. They're already doing it. But if any of the tools that you are relying on is saying that now we are AI powered, AI enabled, etc., we just need to check properly. That's all great. Talk us through how it works. So the other one, which is news for you and thought I'll happily share, is there is a new certification that's been internationally recognized by AIGP, which is coming up, called AI governance certification. It's like, and that's gonna, the blueprint or the body of knowledge went live only today. So we will be accrediting certification part of that. So we are taking it seriously, because we don't want anybody to be concerned or think just because of this, you have to stop it. Just because of this, you can't use generic language models. You have to go back and use ours. It's the only way. We want to give you all the options, then you decide what you need to do, right? So if you're actually thinking AI could be a potential threat, actually it's right. But again, when the world is like that, right? If you give them any tool, falls in good hands, good thing happens, falls in bad hands, bad things happen. But the important point here is the access to AI, access to knowledge is now being democratized. So it's our ability to ask the right question is what's going to take us forward, right? And that's it. So what I'll add here is also one or two lines on regulations. I removed a lot of content because I don't want to bore you with the regulations and stuff, but this is where we are. So AI regulation, for the very first thing, EU have a very strict laws. EU has already did it. And in late summer, early September, they are going to have the AI summit, the G7 AI summit here in London. So they are working towards, the US doesn't have any regulation. So on one end, if you are a UK-based company, you are ripped apart, because here, this was published today. The protection watchdog has fired an explicit warning shot to AI developers, saying it expects them to address privacy concerns before the products go to market. You are not even allowed to release a product now if it doesn't fit in what we call part of the ICO, which is the commission, which is the commission with the data, ICO. So And primarily, they also published these 8 questions. You need to focus on these 8 questions. So they are starting to tighten it. If you're an existing tool, it's coming up. But again, that's for regulation. But again, what happens here is while these people come out with the regulation and the industry standard that you need to go for, you as a company can start to create your risk framework, familiarize yourself with some use cases, and be prepared for the tectonic shift that's going to happen very, very quickly late this year, early next year, if you talk about AGI as well. So this is what's been happening. I mean, like, okay, if you look March, April this year on data governance, 1 or 2 surveys that's been done said ChatGPT is already being used in the people like we found here. 47% is what they said, but in our case, it's 39% in this poll that you found. And many of the people, have inadvertently shared corporate data or something. Again, what do you call corporate data? This is called financial. This is not a financial confidential information, right? This is like, okay, what do you know? If you come for the training program, you will know that we hardly touch any confidential information. But these are like people either go to the left or to the right. Either don't care about privacy, or you overcook it. There is a way forward to do this, and we will cover that part of the training. But in general, this is what's been happening. This is this. I've picked up some of this from people who are actually on the right side. So one of the language models which are desperate to hit the market, they already lost it to ChatGPT and Bard and others, have come out with ChatGPT is by far the most banned generative AI tool, so common by us. They are using whatever they can to use this. And then they are coming with Deutsche Bank, for example, banned the use of ChatGPT, whereas JP Morgan on the other side have created 300 tools within AI. Same banking sector, same went on, created lots of pension products, a lot of financial tools with the same industry. So you can clearly see, on what basis these guys stopped will be the same thing others are adopting and doing it. So, and same thing in one end, you have Italy banning it and revoking it, and now they've formed on regulation, whereas other countries are enhancing it, like UK on the other end, they genuinely want to be the powerhouse of AI, but at the same time, they're tightening the privacy just so that anybody can start to use it. So you are always going to find these messages. So what can you do? What can you do in your capacity? Right. Again, this is structured for AI privacy leaders within the company, but still I consider you as one. So it's important for you to at least informally speak to your colleagues or ask, hey, what are the tools that your people are using? And if you have, like how I've showed you, where you can find ChatGPT, privacy settings, and Google Bard's private settings or anything, it's important you as a company need to know friendly, hey, what tools are you using? Just so that we can familiarize yourself. This can help your employees. If they're using it and if they're helping them, then you can see, hey, then they can behind the scenes can understand, okay, what happens here, especially the third party intentions. If you are taking one tool and working with it, one tool, it's all fine. Like OpenAI is fine. But when you're working with a proposal automation tool, that or a Salesforce or a CRM or a sales intelligence tool that now says we are powered by AI, that's where the alarm bells start to kick in, because you might have a policy, they might have a policy, but the third-party integration might not have. That's why they just need to have a look. So use cases is what we are, within Baachu, we have tested everything, every part of from strategy, building market strategy, to understanding competitive intelligence, capture planning, proposal planning, kickoff meetings, to anything and everything. We have built a long list of use cases, and we have created what we call an AI optimized process. This is where in your company, you may need to work out to understand, part of, if you're come out training, you just need to understand what are the use cases that you're always using it, and why is it working for you? Then is this what? So you use cases, is the same use cases your colleagues and others are using, and then you can create a process around it. This is what we covered last month, and that principle still says the same. So now the reason for that is, there are specific AI tools that's coming to the market, right? Yes, for ChatGPT, Bard, and others, or enterprise tools. There are some people like me who are like, yes, one end they have democratized it. It's fine. The data cost is high. So, for you to work cheaper with AI and stuff, you need to rely on Bard and Microsoft and others because they have the money, they have the deep pockets. Whereas on the other end, if you want to work with um, local specialist niche vendors, then you just can't work with them directly, right? You just need to know these are all my use cases. This is where we use AI a lot in sales side, in marketing side, in proposal side, in customer experience, call centers, in reporting, so. Then you need to find specific tools that align towards your use cases. That's the thing. Don't just blindly rely on, okay, this is a tool that's specific, that's used for writing, so I'm going to use that tool. Build your own use cases and then work through the nuances. The second one is, these are some of the questions. I will send you this. I know this is dense, I'm sorry, but this is AI data governance after all. So it's going to be like this. So in the language models, again, where is the data hosted? Is it hosted in the US, hosted in the UK, hosted where, is hosted locally? And then and the data that you are hosting versus where the LLM is hosting, where is it standing? And what's their plan on keeping it, moving it, etc. Again, this is all IT related stuff, but it's important for you to get to know what they're happening. It's like if you are working on the bigger tools, then most probably they might have their own servers done in different countries. Italy for Italy, UK for UK, US for US, different time zones. They might do it. But other tools, if specialist tools, might not have the same way of doing local data at the local time. Sometimes it could be privacy is amazing, but then if the data gets hosted and if it comes on, that's also some of the challenges, right? So, and the other one is the ideal solution for you is don't keep it for 30 days. I just want you to use it, learn it, then delete it. At the same time, I don't want it to even the access wise. I just want it to have access, to restricted people. So then you look into enterprise related things, right? So we will give again in the workshop, we have a template for what could be your AI corporate policy, and very quickly you could come out with this. But your NIFT, the risk framework is a good starting point. So if you don't have a risk policy, this is where your corporate risk policy comes out with, and what could be the components of the corporate risk policy. And then you just need to do the training. So this is the reason why we don't talk about enterprise tools yet, because it will ask you, it has a lot more questions than answers, right? So if you are going to have an enterprise ready tool, then it needs to do a few things. Number one is it needs to work with you to understand, your way of working. Second, it needs to be credible. So hallucination should not happen. Third, if you are rolling it out, then you need to have it as an easy rollout adoption. So that, and before that, you need to have your processes documented, so workflows get in place. Then it's not just document, it needs to support all these things. Then your brand, everything needs to be included, and finally comprise all these things. So this is a bigger thing. So when you put forward, on one end, why the enterprises have struggled to adopt, some have blindly went in and said, hey, AI, I'm going to go for the AI, and they went for it without knowing, just because everybody else is doing it, we'll do it. That's what we talk tools at the very end, because it's important for you to familiarize with it. But if your company is going through the journey, then you might need to remind them this is what happens. But this is where the world is now, so I'll show you what's the immediate future, because we have access to some of the free open LLMs. In September onwards, this is what the world, or at least on our side, this is what's going to happen, right? So I've already mentioned, you need to choose an AI tool that's based on what you need, based on your use cases, and based on that, then go back and check the privacy, details on this. The good news is there is, like OpenLLM, OpenAI, there are lots of LLMs, language models that are free, that are available. You simply go and take that, then you could customize it in doing that. For example, many of the open LLMs actually have a very strong security privacy features. If this session is attended by IT people, then most probably I would have shared what those are. But in your case, it's just be aware of it. There are many open LLMs that's there in the market, so you don't want to rely on expensive specialist LLMs yet. And these could be self-hosted, which means they could be hosted within your network, within your company, just customize it around you. So you don't need to even worry about it. And it's not storing any customer data, and it trains only on foundational models. Again, this is an example. Say, for example, there are LLMs. I'm so tempted to tell the names. There are LLMs that are actually trained not on everything, but just on business writing, sales, and marketing alone. So it's specialist just on this one. So it has a lot of frameworks that's attached to it, lots of pluses of how you can use this, different styles of working, and all these things are attached to it. And those are predominantly on the use cases around enterprises, right? So again, now I was typing it so you can clearly see it's went to the next line. And these tools also have access to PDFs and other things. And this is what's coming. What we are going to see immediately is, okay, the main plugin will still going to be OpenAI, Bard, or others, but the principle or the source data of where these guys pick it, people are going back and creating the source data, which is generically available, and they are customizing and coming out with some specialist LLMs. And these LLMs are starting from free source, and it will be democratized, rather than you just go with an enterprise thing. And the most shocking thing is these tools, as I mentioned, have much more robust certification. They're already certified in some of these things, which meant it's a very specialist AI tool, data security covered. You can put in your own data. You can host within your own network. Nobody will have access to other than your company, and then you go. So that's coming up very soon. So again, what it meant is the generic data and other things will still be a talk around it. So as I mentioned, you can train up your LLMs, you can fine tune the model with your own data, brand, style, guidelines, so all these things are there. And then these tools are also coming up with an entry-level free subscription. And then you will have a medium subscription. And this, depending on how much data you're crunching, the charge will be based on that. Depending on how much customization you want, the charge will be based on that. And then any other seamless integration, it can also happen. So this is where people are working at the moment, and you're going to find more and more specialist generic custom LLMs that's going to come in. So what are the few things that you could take away from this workshop, right? Without burning your brain, which you already have done. Number one is, now is the time to take stock of what tools you are using and what the top use cases are. Step one, it's important. Before you talk anything about data privacy stuff, what tools are you using? Why are you using those tools? Step two, if any of your tools that you're using it, and if people say we are integrated with this, then you may need to check whether any tool built on OpenAI Foundation fits in with the data privacy brand and regulatory policy. You might be thinking you're not using it, but you might have already subscribed to a tool that's already connected to ChatGPT. So you might need to double check. What are these tools that your company is currently subscribed to? And is it already connected to Google suite of products? So example, Salesforce, is you are using Salesforce, they're saying they're AI-powered. HubSpot, AI-powered. So it's all great, but what does it mean? So what do they talk about this third-party integration? And then it's important, if your organization has a policy in place, you need to start to train about the policy. If it doesn't have the policy, then start with the NIST's risk framework and then create generic. Otherwise, or every month we are running at least 2 workshops on data governance, specifically on AI policy. Just come in half a day to 1 day, we can do that for you. So once you have got it, then you simply repurpose and you start to use it. So primarily, your point here is you start to use AI, but the challenge that's going to come with it is, yes, it's going to be non-compliant language and off-brand terminology that will be there. So in any response that's coming off the ChatGPT or Bard is US English. So when any response that we get it, we don't need to ask it to say, hey, Can you write in British English, or can you write in Canadian English or Australian English, etc., to do that in off-brand. So again, the recommendation is, if you are starting to use it, try to make the consistency of brand on that. So again, within your company, it's important for you to, before you create a framework for that, it's important, like how we did a quick poll. It only took you like a minute or two, right? If maybe it's worth checking, in addition to what tools and what others are using, what are they trying to use it for? That could be a reason for that, because the moment we started to use Fireflies, for example, for our meetings, Fireflies automatically records it, transcribes it, it sends it, and it automatically tells me these are the 10 actions, etc., in 1 or 2 minutes after the webinar. Yes, it's costing us $10 a meeting. With the number of meetings that we do, it's hard. But imagine me putting a resource, transcribing this, coming with a kickoff call, notes and stuff, spending 3 hours versus Fireflies on this. I think Fireflies is good. So now that's a basis that I'm doing. But on the other side, Fireflies and AI is listening to your conversation with a customer. Oh my God, it's confidential. That's a balance you need to take. Is it worth it for you to spend, you attend meetings all day, then you sit and note down what's been talked, puts actions on the evenings and work late and long, or you just make it like, I'm going to look at Fireflies AI's policies, and I'm going to speak to my IT to just say, hey, can we embed it? The only problem is Fireflies AI, once it sends, it also sends the meeting notes to, as you can expect, it sends it immediately to everybody. So you might not want everybody in the meeting to know the meeting notes, but you could configure and do those things. But the next one, this is another one. If you are thinking, you are not actually looking at, you are looking into AI, whereas companies does not. It's time to go back, raise your hand and say, hey, who is it within the company who looks after all these things, and what is their thought process on generative AI? And then you can see, hey, what's your concerns, and we have a long list of proposals that we want to do. And these are the resource constraints that we're facing. I can create baseline proposals with it. I can do baseline research with this without doing any confidential thing. But I would like you to give some guidelines, or I can draft some guidelines. I want you to authorize, approve it, etc. It's something that you can do, we can help. And that's it. It's important for you to do that. Ideally, this is what you should have. You should have what we call an AI governance council. This is what's happening. This is recommended by the risk framework. I'm just giving you, and every organization, believe it or not, same time next year will have this. If whether you use it or not, AI will be part of it. So there will be some sort of structure, but this is recommended, which is AI Center of Excellence, which is where the people who are the advocates of AI comes together, build the use cases, build the process, make it work, and they train their team, and they train the trainers, and the trainers then get trained, and that continues to be adoption. This is the Center of Excellence. AI Governance Council is like, while that's happening, the governance sits and improves it, tells people every 3 months, 6 months, this is our AI process maturity, this is how we are doing, there is no data breach, we are doing this, privacy settings, and all the tools have been audited, etc. So this is the tool that's going to happen. But if part of NIST, it's recommended, but if within your organization, this could be just one team. And then your organization might already have ethics committee or an enterprise risk framework, etc. It's going to be connected there. But for you, it is just going to be there. Unfortunately, I wasn't planning to add this, but people asked me, hey, I have no idea what's happening. This actually came from a CEO who actually, now the reason we are starting a writer course on Friday is because one of the CEO, because we are a strategic partner with many companies, and one of the CEO in passing said, don't you think AI makes all the proposal people lazy? So I just stared at them and it's like, oh my God, look at the perception. Now we need to break this perception. It's not making them lazy. It's making them creative, and it's making them strategic. How can I break that? So let's just go and launch a, how can you do creative writing using AI? That's what we are going to do Friday. So it's not like bidding, it's writing. So similarly, they asked about this, which is like, what can you do? How I'm going to monitor, employee usage of, you have people who are going to take it really to the right, and there will be some monitoring companies who are going to mint money out of it, and they're already starting. So what are those companies? I wasn't planning to add it, but just to let you know, there are companies that are coming out already. So Snow is starting to build some traction. So it can track the usage of variety of this. They did not only track this, but they also not only track ChatGPT, but they track so many other usages as well. Just to understand user analytics, now they have added ChatGPT to it. Cisco also, if your company subscribe to GoToWebinar and other Cisco types of products, Cisco has also come back, because as you can see here, when Zoom webinars, Microsoft Teams came in, Cisco pretty much crushed into the market, because GoToWebinar was very popular, but now it's no more. And so what they can rely on is Cisco networks, very, very secure, very confidential, holds the data, etc. So they will continue to create that fort by creating more and more of this, But do we need to do that? Is it better to have a conversation with the employees to understand, hey, what's exciting about ChatGPT? What tools do you use? What use cases do you use? Let's see how we can adopt it collectively, come out with some process in place that you can be more productive, the company benefits out of it. There are companies who do that. To make it worse, there are a few companies. When I searched, I wasn't even aware these tools exist. Any of you familiar with this? There is something called screen monitoring tools. Again, it's a shock when I came to know that the screen monitoring tools supposedly it happens in the BPO companies, business process outsourcing and IT outsourcing companies, where they monitor their employees on the screen usage. So like I'm sharing my screen now, but the screen gets always shared to the IT team so that they always know what you're doing. I mean, I can't even believe that, but supposedly it's been there for some time. And these screen monitoring tools now are also looking at ChatGPT. It makes me sick when I say that, but be prepared. If you are into something, there might be your IT team or somebody feeds in, and somebody might have these tools. Companies might sit and have calls with your IT security team and say, you know what, you can't trust your employees, can you? You better go and put these tools so that when data leakages happen, what happened. There are people who can take that sort of approach rather than to take a bottom-up approach. So just be prepared. So those are the tools. It's there. The best tool for your organization depends on specific need. However, I mean, like I personally be transparent. Why you are doing this? What steps did you take before to come to the sort of conclusion to monitor? And then if you decide to monitor, I wouldn't work for any company if they do that to me, but I don't know, but it's personally, if they use it to monitor, then what are they actually using it for? So then that comes in again with the UK and other stuff with the GDPR and other, they are collecting personal information here, but what are they going to do with that, etc. It's an open baggage, but again, there is a pocket of industry that also comes out of it. So most importantly, this is what I want to land up with. So while there are risk frameworks, while there are regulations, while there are tools that comes with it, just be curious. It shouldn't stop you not trying. You should try. But when you try, just be mindful what's possible, what's not possible, and don't get too bogged down on the negativity of, oh, the world is going to be bad with AI. People are using all. I know a lot of people. I personally have benefited from this when we had a discrimination recently, and we paid 15,000 in lawyers' fees just on this nonsense, but we nearly saved 30,000 pounds because we used ChatGPT on Google Bard to really understand what's happening to us. So it distills your mind, builds some clarity, etc. Sometimes it's your trusted friend. So again, that's your journey. Let your people know what you're using it for. Talk about the privacy and within those tools, familiarize yourself, or tell your companies, hey, this is why I'm using, these are the use cases I'm using. Can you double check what are the stuff that we can do? And then you train your people around it, the do's and don'ts, and that's the world is going to go. Because either way, but there will be others who will be coming out with all these monitoring tools and this, and there will be specialist specialist language models who are going to come and scaremonger you, saying you are using ChatGPT, right? It's all doomed. You are using Google Bard, right? It's all doomed. Because yes, these companies do have a monopoly and they do have a data on this, but that's how the world always operated. But as I mentioned, there is hope. There are some open LLMs which will be coming out in the market from September, which will have, you can still get the benefits of it. You can still use it within your environment and you can start to use it, but it's there, right? And I just want to end it by saying this is the starting, and we have 2 more workshops coming up this week, 23rd, which is a Friday, where we look into writing specifically. So you could create some ideas out of it, but what are the better ways of creating writing ideas? Yes, it writes for you, but if you are not a journalist, or if you're not a creative writer, if you are suddenly entering this field, how can you do it? So we will find some how different styles can be incorporated within it, how you could use ChatGPT to utilize your own styles within this and make it write in the same way as you want it to write, edit, etc. That's what we will look at into that, just to make people think that it's not going to make you lazy, it's going to make you more powered. And then these are some of the workshops that we have planned in July, straight after this. And the most exciting one is the graphics workshop, which is just going to be 8 weeks, the longest that we have done. And we're going to look into a lot of AI tools that create graphics for bidding. And because I'm not a graphics professional myself, but I'm going to learning myself, and then we'll be talking it through. If I can, I'm the use case. If I can do it, any graphic designer who knows already can do it. So these are some of the stuff, it's there, and the batches will be released to all the 23 odd people. We are coming out with it. Otherwise, I will see you in our Connect channel or within our within the upcoming workshops. If there is any questions, let me know. More than happy to answer. But most importantly, just embrace AI. It's there for us to change. Yes, it's uncertain. Yes, we are in an unfamiliar zone, but it's going to be always like that. As I showed you early on, it's going to be self-realization into LLMization. And that's how the world is going to be. So I know this is a dense topic. Thanks for joining. And if there's any questions, drop me a note. Otherwise, anybody who's listening to the recording, please do come back and listen to the recording. So you could find all the links that you can get from there. Slides will be in the portal, I think, if you are part of the Scribble member. Otherwise, we will upload this recording and we'll add it inside the portal, and you will have access to this recording on demand as well. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for joining.